buddy.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you again for joining us. I've been so looking forward to this particular episode of Unconditional with Darren Slavens. We have my good buddy Harley Appleby here with us today. He is a partner at Seagulls. They just changed their name, so I got to take a look at it. At Seagull GCSELLP. And that's about all I need my notes for, so I can throw them away. Har, what's cooking, buddy?
Not much. I love the title of the show. I'm looking forward to this. I've always looked up to you and your firm is such a boutique, beautiful firm.
Thanks, buddy.
Breeds
You're making me
beautiful
blush.
agents. So this is great.
Well, I should
love
start.
what we're doing here.
Thanks, buddy. I should start by saying I've known Harley forever. He's not just my accountant. He's not just my firm's accountant. He is one of my oldest, closest friends. And there's nobody I enjoy spending more time with than Harley. And anybody that knows him will understand why. So, Har, thank you again for coming in, buddy.
No, I'm proud to be here and glad to be here. By the way, when was the first year you were at Camp Winnebago, if I'm allowed to ask?
So I started as an inter, but
Yeah.
I went second month, and I think you went first month.
Yeah, okay. So, but you start off as inter.
So we missed each other until teens when you tortured me and bullied me and made me feel like shit.
Because I don't remember you as an inter.
Yeah.
And as an inter, for everyone who doesn't know, it's like 9, 10, or is it 8, 9?
Younger.
Yeah, somewhere around
So
there.
1985.
Yeah, okay.
So 85, we're about 9 years old,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you went both years inters?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
And I don't remember you in my cabin.
Thankfully.
But yeah.
Because you fucking tortured me as a teen. It was awful. Bullied the hell out of me.
No, did I
You
really?
did. You all did. It was horrible. I actually left Winnebago to go to Manitou for a couple of years.
Are you
It was
serious?
so bad. Yeah.
Bullied you about what?
I think I had smelly feet. You guys are mean about my smelly feet. I couldn't control it. And I came back trainee summer, and you weren't there trainee summer.
Oh, yeah, because I was on
You
West
were
Coast.
on West
Connection.
Coast,
Yeah.
and then we were from SITS on. So SITS, you're 16 years old. So from there's been no looking back.
Actually, there was, and I don't want to get ramble onto off topic here, but there was a Lofter reality TV show. Daniel Fraley was on it.
Yeah.
He pulled me on to accuse me incorrectly of throwing Ajax on his eyes while he was in the bathroom.
An infamous story.
It was actually
we don't need to mention
names.
names.
Yeah, I'm not mentioning names, but it was someone else.
Yeah.
And I was on TV saying like, no,
being accused.
Yeah. But it actually wasn't me. But anyway,
that is fair. Well, I can honestly say that those were the greatest times of my life.
Yes, they were.
And I'm sure we will touch on some stories, because how could we not? I should say that on top of being my accountant and being a brilliant person, you are also a huge John Candy fan like
Yes,
I am.
I am.
And something we share in common is a love for the movie Who's Harry Crumb.
And you know what is so crazy about Who's Harry Crumb? If you look at Rotten Tomatoes,
Horrible rating.
Yeah, like it's like a 20%, like
I know.
20%, and it is the best movie of all time.
Give their money
to Elliot Dreisen. And it's actually, we can list off, and we can spend 2 hours on a podcast talking about that movie, but it is absurd that people's critics of it. But I think people need to watch it again. John Candy is the best actor of all time, hands down.
Agreed. Certainly the best comedic actor.
Yeah,
of all
for sure.
time.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, like that is.
When the going gets hot, the hot gets air conditioning. Brilliant movie.
So we actually have to watch. We actually need to get together and watch it together.
It's difficult to find. I don't think it's on Netflix. I don't think it's on Amazon. Like, you gotta
Blue
do your
messaged
research to
me
find
like
it.
3 months ago, says Crumb's on, and like I ran to the TV.
Regular television.
Oh yeah, regular television. And it was like the best. I only caught the last hour,
Brilliant.
50 minutes, like best hour of my life in the last year.
So you know the guy that played. I don't know what his name is. Maybe we'll look it up in post-production. But the guy that plays his cousin that runs the detective firm.
Yeah.
He's also the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day
Yeah,
Off.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
been in
He's
a
the
million
best.
80s
He's
movies.
hilarious. Elliot Dreisen. He's the Elliot Dreisen joke.
Yeah, he's Elliot Dreisen.
Yeah.
He's a pedophile or something like that. He got nailed for some sort of crazy.
That's terrible.
Yeah, he got nailed for some sort of crazy.
This world is terrible.
I know.
That's why
Anyways.
it's good people like you.
Yeah,
keep
right.
it up. Keep.
Let's get on to topic, because we're here to educate
Yes,
agents,
please.
not just provide them a good time.
Yes.
And somehow, was it intentional? Like, I know you do a lot of work for agents,
Yes.
a lot of work. Was that intentional? How did that come about?
Good question. I think, look, my family's in real estate, and they have always been. I've always been interested in real estate, and so I think it just, one of my first clients ever, which is like before I even had my accounting degree, was a real estate agent. And then with it was like my third year.
Were you doing bookkeeping for them or something?
No, I was doing the tax
doing the
return.
taxes.
Yeah, like I was at Ernst & Young, and remember a lot of I think this is going to be a huge theme for anyone. Is it's all about relationships. My business is all about my relationships with my clients, and real estate agents is all about relationships with
100%.
their clients.
So in your industry, you're responsible for your own book. You got to go out and get your own clients.
Oh yeah. And I was literally my third year. I hadn't even passed the accounting courses. Like you have to spend a certain amount of time. And I just had a good relationship, and he knew his accountant. He's like, hey, like, can you do my account? And like I was honest with him. I was like, look, like I'm not doing that yet. Like I don't have any clients. Like it's fine. You'll figure it out. You're a smart guy. And then I did really good stuff for him. Did some creative stuff, and then it spiraled. And then now, like, I don't know the number, but it's hundreds and hundreds of agents.
That's awesome, man. I know you represent a ton of people in my office. You've come in, you've given courses, you've talked to our agents, and I certainly recommend you to anybody I can, particularly agents. But it's crazy the difference having a good accountant can make in your day-to-day life. I have to tell you that. Like, night and day, knowing, I don't want to call them tricks, but knowing the ins and outs of the actual rules makes such a difference. So many agents I see have an uncle or a cousin or someone who's just filling out paperwork for them, and there's nothing really to that, right? Like, they're not putting in the time and the effort to take the extra steps to really make a difference, and you can make a difference.
Oh yeah, like real estate agents are it's probably the most important. It's funny enough. Obviously, you have complicated corporations and complicated industries and inventory and all this stuff. But real estate agent business, there's so many things you can deduct. And it gets so complex. And there's the HST component. And then there's the installment component. Then there's the PREC, which is the new professional real estate corporation situation. And realistically, if you don't have proper organizational skills, a proper accountant to really guide you, then it costs you so much money. It's so often I get calls where either one, they're late in filing, or two, the filings they've done is so screwed up. And I would say 90% of the real estate agents I look back at the year before. I'm like, whoa, like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Like, oh, like the guy who did it, or yeah, as you said, my friend who helped me out, or the accountant didn't mention to me. I just forwarded them a shoebox and they gave it to me. Like, there was no interaction. And I'm like, I could have saved you $10,000, $20,000. So they think they're sort of maybe saving money by not paying
100%.
Paying an accountant, but they're losing thousands of dollars.
The biggest issue with agents is they don't look at themselves as a business. Right?
100%.
They don't operate their day-to-day lives as a business. I always say agents are great at working in the business. They're not great at working on their business.
And what's the biggest expense of a real estate agent? Tax.
100%.
And you need someone to manage it. It is, but I will. It's funny. I would say. Like, I have very, very, very low turnover of clients. And I could say maybe 99.999% of the real estate agents that have come to me ever in my career have not left. Like, no one. Almost no one. I'm thinking out loud. Has there even been one? And I can't think of even one. And
have you fired any clients?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. It's been more of to say, hey, like, this isn't going to work like this. Like, I would never go out and fire someone, but if the relationship is just like, look, this is not working for us. This is what you have to do to make it work. Then yes, I've had that conversation many times. But I've never, and it just shows, what I think that shows is how important even the agents realize. So once, and by the way, like, there's lots of good accountants. This isn't even a promo on me. This is just a promo to say, look,
get an accountant.
Yeah, get an accountant. someone that you know is, deals with agents, because it's gonna help. And as I said, not one has left me. Like, it just shows they appreciate it. Like, so it's so important. It's so important.
Having the ability to deliver the bad news like you do makes it softer, let's say.
It is
and that's
tough.
a skill.
It is funny you say that.
Shit.
It is funny you say that, because, come April, right? I'm saying like, hey, you owe like, 30 grand HST, 40 grand personal tax, whatever. Like, and they're like, what the F? Like 90 grand? What the hell? And then they start, the rants about
The good news is you did well last year.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Well, then I'll explain to say, look, like, if I didn't have at this, you would have owed double, right? And I would have been telling you, 150 grand, whatever the numbers are. But another key important thing for a real estate agent, they need a Rolodex of contacts. Mortgage broker, so important. Insurance, important. Lawyer, accountant, like, you need these contacts. There's at your fingertips, and agents also need to be careful about giving. Sometimes they try to be the have answers for everything. So a lot of agents will be like, they'll give HST advice. Like, what? Like, I know HST really well, and even once I remember you asked me, like, Harley, can you teach a course on HST? I'm like, look, like, I know a lot of HST, but I'm not comfortable teaching a course. Like, you would need expert. And I have these agents, and I know 3 currently in lawsuits right now with previous buyers,
because they give bad HST advice.
So it's so important, and not just tax and not just HST, anything, any kind of advice. Just be like the customer, the buyer, the seller would be more appreciative if you're just honest and say, hey, like, Darren, my broker might know the answer. The lawyer might know the answer. My accountant might know the answer. It's so important.
Well, I know one of the exact scenarios I brought you into to get advice on, because, there's a misconception out there that, it's residential, HST doesn't apply, right? Just flat across the board.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I've seen agents, thankfully not from our office, go down in making that claim that HST doesn't apply. Somebody buys a house, tears it down, starts building a house for themselves to live in, but they don't actually ever live in it, and they sell it beforehand. Bang. I
have trained you so well, or not, but that, like, so but by the way, this shows, like,
13%.
So for the fact that a broker, I will say, Darren knows this, and he's exactly right. If a residential home is torn down, rebuilt, sold as a residential home, you have to charge the HT. First of all, great on you that you knew that.
Yeah,
and remember, that is very smart, but you're right. And actually, I've had a number of new clients because of it. Like, I think I've had 6 new clients come to me, the home builder side, because it was missed, and I had picked it up, and they're like, they end up being my clients. But the point is, you're exactly right. Like, ask the questions. Don't pretend to know it. Like, know your boundaries.
You do not want to be the agent that all of a sudden has to go to their client and say, that $3 million home you just bought? Got some bad news. I'm gonna have 13% on top of that.
No, it's exactly right. And there's so many new and a lot. You also have to be careful with non-residents.
Oh my God, I'm seeing it everywhere
now.
Yeah,
whenever an agent has a non-resident buying, there's just tax rules, there's filing rules, there's withholding rules, there's rental rules if you're renting it. It is very complicated. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means ask the question, explain to your buyers.
So here's the funny thing. So the default in that situation, most agents, when they find out there's residency issues, whether it's a buyer or a seller, they default to saying, let's just talk to the lawyer. I say, fuck that. Talk to the accountant before you talk to the lawyer.
Exactly.
Make sure they speak to their accountant.
So important.
Because most people don't realize the holdback on the seller side.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, it's going to be taken off the table come January anyway, because we're not allowed to have any foreign buyers starting in January, which is crazy in my mind, but that's the case. So.
It is true. Listen, real estate agents have a huge responsibility.
Huge.
And it's not discussed enough. They have huge power. to help a purchaser or buyer buy a home, and they need there should be a checklist. Like honestly, there should be a checklist that's given on before close that an agent should have, whether it's an internal checklist that they go over, read it to them, or they literally physically give it to them and say, hey, just to make sure there's no non-residential buyers, just to make sure this, and they're like, honestly, because they need to be so careful.
Some brokerages do that,
oh yeah, do you guys have?
Some brokerages.
Wow,
I didn't sure of that. Of course,
really?
Yeah,
okay, I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Like it used to be FinTrack, right? Like I don't know if you guys ever have to deal with FinTrack in your business, but FinTrack is the natural stage at which people discuss residency and that sort of thing. The issue is most agents don't get to FinTrack till after the deal's already done. It's like the last thing they 100%. Do. So at our office, we've trained our agents, and we are working, because it's a work in progress, in getting the agents to all be doing the FinTrack right at the beginning. And even if, the person looks Canadian, has no accent, has been here for 10 years, it doesn't mean they're a permanent resident. And you can't just assume that if they have a driver's license that they're a permanent resident.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So. And let me bring up, if you let me, just really high level stuff about these new professional real estate corporations.
Sure.
Just
before you start, how often are you seeing them?
It's funny. So the market, like right when it came out, was great timing in the sense. So right when it was October 2020 I think 2021 that professional real estate corporations were officially legal, and it was right near the height of the real estate, and it was insane. Like my practice really grew because I'd what's the number? I would say 50%, like easily,
50%
which is huge.
Wow.
And there's huge benefits, but just a 2-minute spiel about it. Number one, the highest rate personal tax in Canada, 54%.
Let's get you a little closer to that mic, you putz.
The top personal tax rate, 54% in Canada. And again, that's if you're over 220. But even if you're over 150, so if you got gross commissions over 150, you're still at that 44 and up. And the tax rate at a corporate level is 12.2%, which is under $500,000. Then you got to take the money out. But the point is the discrepancy, the delta between the 54 personal tax rate and the 12.2% tax rate is huge. Mm-hmm. And the hope is if you don't need to withdraw all the money to live, then you can keep the money in the corporation, and it acts
growing in the corporation.
Correct. It acts like your RSP. It acts like a pension, and then you buy real estate properties in there, whatever you want. Now, one caveat, which is really important, is if you set up a prep, because what a lot of agents did, to be honest, before even consulting me, first of all,
just set it up.
Yeah, so number one, you should consult.
It's cool.
Yeah. Like you should speak to an accountant before you just set up the prep, because I would say of 50% of my agents that set up, I would say maybe 60% it's actually working for.
Sure.
So 40% is not working for. Why isn't it working for? If you get the commissions in the prec and then you withdraw most or all of the money personally, you're right back where you were.
Yeah.
The only thing that changed is more fees, more professional fees to the accountant, more bookkeeping fees, legal fees to set it up. So if you can save some of the money behind, it is huge,
right.
like life-changing.
If your cost of living is enormous, right? Like 2 kids in private school, 2 kids at sleepaway camp, like right there, you're pretty much already taking out as much money as it might not make sense.
Yeah, and again, someone always says, "Hey, Harley, like I'm earning 100,000 of commissions. Should I set it up?" I'm like, it doesn't matter if you earn 10 grand of commissions or $1 million of commissions. The question is, how much are you going to withdraw?
Leave in there.
Yes, how much can you save? Right. That's it. So I think it's just very important that just the key is, look, it could be life-changing savings, but don't just set it up. You got to speak to an accountant. For anyone who hasn't, because it's it's complicated. Another good thing about these corporations, what I'm noticing, it's forcing people to budget. And so before some agents, and I send out blasts like at least once a quarter for installments, and so a minimum most of my agents contact me then. But what happens is if a lot of agents would just contact me once a year with this corporation, it's forcing them. They're like, hey Harley, I've already pulled out this much money. Where am I going to be at? And it's forcing them to really budget. And when they set up these corporations, one of the things I recommend, you can either pay yourself through dividends or salary. Sure. And without getting technical, I suggest dividends, and I suggest a once a month transfer. So maybe your cost of living is 10 grand a month, maybe it's 8 grand a month. I said, hey, first of every month, pull out 10 grand a month, and then hopefully that lasts you for the month. If by the 25th of the month you need more money, then take another grand, but it forces them to see, wow, I'm spending more than 10 grand a month.
So the biggest issue for most agents is a lack of consistency, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you see it. One of the hardest things, first of all, something you might not be aware of is that, this isn't an official stat, but the general understanding is that 2% of the agents are making 98% of the money, right?
Yeah.
And agents' income levels sort of look like a roller coaster. Like, they're not busy, they get busy, so it skyrockets, they make a lot of money, and then it drops back down, and then it picks back up, and it drops back down. So there's no consistency of income. It's not a normal job where people are getting a monthly the same amount, or bi-weekly they're getting the same amount. A lot of agents don't know what they're going to earn.
100%. No, and that's actually, I'm happy you raised that, because that's another reason why this corporation can work. Because as you said, maybe you have a big month, maybe you get 30,000 deposit, but then you're not going to get anything for 6 months.
I'm not going to be working here, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, but the point is, for the most part, you're going to know you're going to know what's sort of coming in or not. But this corporation forces you to figure out, hey, what am I spending each month? Because like, and I test my agents all the time. I said, like, how much does you and your family spend in a month? And 99% they answer they don't know. And I'm like, you should know. I'm not saying you got to know to the penny, but they should know on average. Hey, take your credit. If they're single, it's just their credit card, their bank statement. If they're married, then them and their spouse's credit card. If you just look at the average last couple months, say, yeah, I spend 15 grand, 20 grand, 10 grand, 5 grand, whatever it is. They should know that. And it's so important, because one of the biggest problems with real estate agent is budgeting. Of course. They're not known as the most organized.
Like I said, they're good
bunch.
at working in the business. They're not good at working on the business, right?
Yes.
They don't treat themselves as, even when they have precs, they don't look at themselves as a corporation. And they need to start doing that. So when an agent first comes into the business, you tell them, listen, get your HST number. Well, I don't need it till I make 30 grand. You're going to get there faster than you think you will. Just get it now, and make sure you get a good accountant. Don't just use Uncle Joey or somebody who's not going to spend time on the file. But do you think, like, is it good practice for a new agent who's just come into the business, a young kid? Will you take that type of client on and at the beginning of their career when they're not making as much, and grow with them and teach them the right habits, that sort of thing? Or is there a certain level you wait until you'll take them on? Great
question. So first of all, my standard fee quote for a personal real estate agent is $750 to $1,000 for someone who's self-employed. That includes their HST return, preparing their tax return, all that tax planning. So it doesn't matter if you're earning 20,000 commissions. It doesn't matter if you have 5 million in commissions. That fee quote's the same as anyone. So absolutely. And I'm not going to mention names, but I've worked with a lot of agents that literally started out like 3-4 years ago. They were under 50 grand. Now they're blowing past 500,000 annually. So it's like, I've noticed, honestly, these individuals that are blowing past whatever 500,000 or more, they want it. Like they want to learn more. They have this. They really
hunger.
want. Yeah, they have this hunger to learn more about business, learn more about what they can be doing better. And I see frequent calls, frequent questions, and then people that maybe aren't reaching out to me as much. Maybe aren't doing as well.
Nobody wants to face the truth, right?
Yeah.
It's like you think there might be something wrong with you and you're afraid to go to the doctor.
No.
I mean, having a conversation with your accountant can be very scary.
No, I never thought about that, but you bring up a good point. You're right.
Fuck, I don't want to know.
No, and I've heard that before. I've heard them say like, "Oh, I sort of want Harley," like, and they admit it. Like, I just want to bury my head in the sand. I know I wasn't doing well. I know on some tax. And by the way, for the record, the crazy thing is there's a lot of agents that just are like late and all this stuff. There's an automatic 10% penalty for not filing personal tax return. And then there's, and the rates now are going up, like the rates now come out to around 8%. So it can be huge. So even if you only have $5,000, $10,000 and you file 3 months late, 6 months late, like it's costing you double. Yeah. And it's just so silly. There's no excuse for not being organized. Like you just got to do it.
There's excuses.
Yeah. Oh, fine. Yeah, that's
they might
true.
not be good excuses.
No, that's true.
But there's definitely excuses. Shit. I don't know how. You got to have the patience of Job, man, to deal with it. Like I deal with agents all the time, and I see these issues, and you can see them coming, and you warn agents, and you hope that they stay on top of things, but.
I will say,
it's a challenge.
Yeah, I will say you do and I know you have your monthly sales calls, but
weekly.
Weekly. I didn't even realize that. So you do a very good job because I will say at your boutique firm, more so than any other firms I've worked with, the agents seem to be more organized, and I think that's partly because you are pushing to have that Rolodex of clients. You're pushing to have that accountant. You're pushing to be organized. As you said, maybe you have that checklist before it closes, and that's really forcing real estate agents to be organized and be more successful. Mm-hmm. And I really noticed that here. I also see where certain agents, leave here and miss it, right? And even when I do a presentation at other brokers, like I do see a more of a sense of family here, and obviously there's a number of good brokers in the GTA area.
We're just different,
but you're just different. Like I do notice more of a family sense in this firm.
It's taken a long time to build that. It's an integral part of our culture, and work very hard on it.
And you do a great job on it. Like I'm really impressed.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll pay you after.
No, he did not pay me to say that. He did not pay. No, that's the truth though. That's the honest to God truth.
It's mind-boggling to me to be having professional conversations with you, to be honest. Like
I know.
How you have a history with somebody, and one of the big things in this business is people say, I don't want to work with friends. I don't want to work with family. Like that's always the excuse. Like people take it so on the agent side. For those of you listening that aren't agents, there's a weird personal aspect to real estate that doesn't exist, I don't think, in other industries, where agents take it very personally when they're not used by friends and family, and friends and family, feel very strongly about not using their friends or family in this industry. Yeah. But to have professional relationship with your friends is awesome. It's just so weird. Like I'm looking at you here and I can just picture doing shots in your parents' house on, up at York Mills and Leslie for like, how the hell did we get here?
So I will say this, like, I think we're both very good at putting our business hat on. Like, by the way, you are a leader. You've always been a leader ever since in camp, right? Like captain of the one-day programs. Like I was like at arts and crafts where you're like leading like 500
you were on
people.
A and C.
Yeah. Like it's like, right. So you've always, I was really good at making FEMO and stuff, but you were like always a leader. But one thing, and I see it like and again, back to me, when I present at your sales, after I'm done my presentation, you come in and you're so good at pulling it together. And you take what I say, sometimes I get into the technical, but you really pull it out and what makes sense for the real estate agent. Say, hey, and you're very good at takeaways, you're very good at leading, but to your comment earlier, back to our friendship, when we take off and we go for dinner or we go out,
business.
Yeah, like we take off our professional hats
and act like 14-year-olds
and act
again.
like we're back in camp 100%. And I love that. I love that. But I think one reason, and I wonder, like, why are you so successful? Why is this firm such a great boutique firm? I think you're just so approachable, and I think that's just part of it. That it's just, you're very approachable. People aren't afraid to come to you with any question. There's no stupid question.
That's true.
And you give sound and straight to the point advice. And that's what I've at least witnessed.
Thanks, buddy.
From seeing it. Because, I think your approach is different than other brokers.
Sure. Well, I find it easy to put myself in other people's shoes, and I think we've all been there before, and I do have the ability to do that. So I recognize the feelings that people are going through in different situations. And I was an agent for so long before I took on this role that I know the things that they're coming up against. I have built a business as an agent. I know how to do it. I've been successful at it. I built a team. So I know how to assist them in doing those things themselves. But it's crazy, I appreciate everything you just said about me. Thank you. I wish I had the self-confidence to believe that stuff about myself, but nobody does, right? Like, I sit here and say that you're like a genius, and everybody knows you're a genius.
It's hard to take a compliment, for sure. It is, but but I hear it everywhere. You hear it everywhere,
for sure.
And I'll hear it a lot because of the agents.
Yeah,
because I deal with a lot of your agents and previous agents, and so I know both sides of the fence.
Like, I'm sitting there watching you present. Right?
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing us running around a neighborhood.
I don't know how you
stealing Christmas decorations at the age of 14.
Okay. We do have so we do have to we have to tell that story.
Yes.
So I
maybe we shouldn't. We can't go to jail for that now.
No.
Right?
I'll do a quick story. So Darren and I. So my parents still live actually York Mills area.
Yeah.
So we'd always hang out at my parents' backyard at the pool. It's this and this. But it came.
A couple of drinks involved.
Oh yeah.
Possibly.
So it came to Christmas time, and I guess you and I are walking, and I guess walking around the corner, and at the top of this house there was this huge, massive Santa, and I don't know who or why, but one of us was like, "We got to get that."
Just so you know, we're talking like 1991, 92, probably.
This wasn't recent. No, this wasn't recent.
Yeah.
But we're walking by, we see this massive Santa Claus at a house. It
became a mission.
So I think I jumped on top of the house. I grabbed the Santa Claus and we brought it back to my house. And then the best part of the story actually is, I think a week or a month later.
So awful.
No, a week or a month later, we're walking by and we see this massive sign at the house where the Santa Claus was taken, and it said like 10 free candy canes for
Santa Claus has been kidnapped.
For whoever returns Santa Claus. And we did return the Santa Claus.
We did.
So we didn't get our free candy canes, but we did return it.
I have never felt so guilty. I'll still have nightmares about it, thinking, "Oh my God,
we were literally teenagers.
Yeah.
We were literally teenagers,
stupid
teenagers." But that was
that
was a great story. We should actually go knock on that door and ask for a 10 candy cane reward because we still haven't gotten it back.
Yeah, wow, man, that was a great house. We had so many great.
Yeah,
times.
we did have a lot of good memories, and
I love that your parents still live there.
Oh, it's a crazy, as you said earlier. It is like, I don't know how you can take me seriously. Yeah, like what I'm presenting
it's the same thing.
To your team. I don't know how you just don't look, as you said, look at me and be like, oh my God, like that's the guy that like did this at camp and did.
I've seen the lowest lows and the highest highs.
It's like I would not be able to. Yeah, like I would not be able to take me seriously either.
I know.
But it just shows your professionalism.
100%.
And you're listen, you're empathetic to the agents. And you're such an easygoing guy. It's like, you're a cool guy.
So are you.
You're a cool guy. Yeah.
I mean, I know you have a hard stop today, which is something I never would have heard come out of your mouth like even 5 years ago.
So we got to explain.
Darren, I got a hard stop at 1 o'clock.
I have a meeting at 30, and I did message Darren and say, "Hey, Darren, I got a hard stop at 1." Yeah. And then I
can't
realized,
just say I got to stop at 1. No.
And then I realized I probably said that to the wrong individual because this is like one of my best friends. And he right away made fun of me about it. And then I'm like, oh my God, he's right. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever said in my life.
Yeah.
But it's so great. It is so great to be here. And for the record, I'm like, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but like I watch podcasts all the time. I was telling you earlier, like I don't know, I watched the Bachelorette series.
Is this your first time being on a podcast?
Yeah, it is. Love is Blind.
Yeah.
Not that I recommend them to anyone, but like I watch that stuff, and I love these podcasts. They're great.
Good.
And let me say,
we'll see what mine are like. I don't have a single viewer yet because I haven't released them.
Let me say one more thing. Your Instagram account, and I've told you before, I think is fantastic.
Thanks, buddy.
I think it's the right amount of content.
I gotta have you on every week.
Well, because I think there's such a thing as too much content and not the right content, and I think you just have the right. No, you're also like, you make me laugh, right? So like I could just,
you know me.
You're like, you have that John Candy effect on me. Like I watch you and I smile. I instantly just get butterflies and I'm laugh. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Thanks, but I think your Instagram is a great post, and I think it's important. And
It's part of the job now.
And I think you got to keep at it. And even if you only had 2 followers after 10 months, and I know you have a lot more than that, but the point
repetition is key.
I think you got to keep at it because it will pick up because you're doing a great job.
Before we wrap up, I want to ask one last question because I think it's important. If you had, I think my sound's a little off, but if you had one pet peeve or one piece of advice you could give agents besides making sure they have a good accountant, what is the one thing? If you're talking to all agents right now, this is my word of advice for you.
Budget. My word of advice for real estate agents is budget. You need to know your budget. It has to do, it touches everything you do. Whether you're considering a corporation, how much can you put aside for installments for tax? Can you buy a home for yourself? How much money can you put aside for vacation? Everything. You need to know and when I say budget, there's a couple things. Number one, how much are you spending? So it's number say like, hey, I've been spending 10, 15 grand a month. Then the question is, once you know, okay, hey, I'm spending 15 grand a month, can you afford that? Because I will say probably over 70% of the agents I know overspend. They spend above their means. And by that I mean above their income level. Yeah, and they can't do that. Like you need to say, hey, if you make 100 grand and you're paying 30 grand tax, that means you and your family have 70 grand to spend. You can't spend the government's
You'd think it would be so simple.
Yeah.
Right?
But what happens is they collect on the 100 grand, they collect 13,000 of HST. So they first spend the government's 13 grand. And so I'm happy you asked that. Like
everybody's guilty of it. Everybody.
Well,
not everybody, not the million plus earners.
But I hear you. But you're right. Yeah. Most people are, and it's an easy fix. Know what you're spending and know what you can spend, and that involves working with professionals. It may be an investment advisor, an accountant, whatever it may be. You can do it yourself if you're sophisticated enough. But it is knowing your budget is so important. Like it all starts and stops there. If you don't know that, and I always say even before setting up a PREC, and again the PREC is the Professional Real Estate Corporation, you got to know your budget.
We'll get you back in to talk just about PRECs one of these days.
Yeah, for sure. We should, and just talk about Harry Crumb.
Yeah, we didn't talk enough Harry Crumb, but that's because of your hard stop. Give out your information, your email address, your phone number in case anybody's looking for you. And guys, we got Matteo Trevisan coming in on our next episode. He runs Ital Interiors. We're going to talk a little furniture, a little design. He's also a sweetheart. And we'll have that one up for you soon. But Harley, give out your info.
Yeah, so again, my name's Harley Appleby. I work for a firm Siegel GCSE, and that's Appleby, HAPPLEBY at Siegel, SEGALGCSE.com. And phone number is 416-774-2417. But if that was too fast, don't worry, message Darren.
We're going to put it up on the screen as well. Yeah. And guys, I can honestly tell you the biggest difference, one of the biggest what's the word I'm looking for?
Different.
One of the biggest differences to my business, one of the things that helped me out the most was hiring Harley as my accountant and his team. It made a world of difference. I can't more highly recommend him and his team.
Thank you.
Harley,
it's a pleasure working with you.
Thanks,
Can't wait to be back. You're the man.
Amen.
Woo!